What's happening, guys? We are here with the Songwriters Lounge podcast on episode 10.
10. Deece. Wow. It's been a fun couple of months, you guys.
It has. It's been quite a lot of fun. And we've came a long way. We've had some incredible people on the show, some amazing music, and it's been so much fun. And we're even 10 episodes in, spinning it up and changing and chopping things to try and make it more interesting, get you guys more involved, etc. So we're certainly not anywhere near finished. We're just getting the wheels rolling, aren't we?
Just getting going, mate. Just getting
going.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate what you said, I think, we've found some musicians and songwriters from around the world that we would never have found without it.
Yeah.
So, and the quality has been so good every week.
Yeah.
It's been such a blast listening to your songs, and thank you for all the feedback we're getting. We're getting a few really cool comments like on Anchor and on YouTube and all our social medias. So thank you guys for the support, and let's keep this going. Yeah,
legends,
mate.
They're all invited to the brigade of good guys or whatever it is.
Every time you're all
time.
invited.
So yeah, to celebrate with us reaching the milestone of episode 10, we've got a cheeky wee announcement, don't we, Tom?
We do. Episode 10. I can't even believe it. So you may have seen on our social medias, we've been running a small giveaway for some t-shirts that Andy is beautifully modelling at this time. And look at him showing off. And we're excited to announce 3 winners that we just picked at random before we went live. And we're excited to announce the winners are, drum roll please.
If I had a drum kit, I'd do it, but...
There we go. So Wendy Lucas, Matt Hughes, and Vandy Enzor. Congratulations, guys. We'll be in touch. And
cheers, guys. And thank you for everyone that submitted, because we had a range of submissions from all over, and it was fantastic. So please do not be disheartened. If you do still want to get your hands on some of this merch, it will be coming hopefully on a shop on our website at some point soon. And we're also going to do another giveaway because this one's been so successful. We're going to do an even bigger giveaway, we're hoping, come episode 15, which will be around about the end of the year when it will be near Christmas time, and we'll be wrapping up the season, what we're going to call season 1, if you like. So yeah, so there's still going to be a chance, guys, if you have missed out on this occasion. So don't give up hope.
Never give up hope. And
never give up hope.
We'll hopefully have some tasty prizes for everyone. And in the meantime,
yes.
One of our sponsors, Jet Tracks, we've been on the phone with them this week, company out of Nashville. If you need a backing track to sing on or rap over, these are you guys, 2 incredibly talented producers from Nashville. Anything out of Nashville, it's going to be good. And they're giving Songwriters Lounge listeners a buy one, get one free code. So just head to their website, jettracks.com, use code Songwriters Lounge, buy one, get one free. And you won't regret it because it's incredible. And so what have you been up to this week, Andy?
This week, I've just been I've been really kind of polishing off a load of rubbish that's just got to the point where I've needed to tackle it. When you spend so much time on your music that you kind of ignore your emails and all your your other nonsense that you never really get to. Well, that's been kind of where I'm at the moment, just catching up on stuff and trying to look forward to organise some release type campaign stuff. And yeah, that's kind of really where I'm at. Aside from that, obviously, doing music in amongst it when and where I can, of course. So I did a good bit of the weekend, and that was fun, just trying to develop further some of the demos that I played on last week's episode. And just checking out the kind of the switch up of our episode, with some of the feedback that we've been getting from people in terms of we're if you guys listened to the last episode, we switched it up in terms of we asked you questions. And I've been just really enjoying kind of connecting with people and finding out and listening to a lot of the submissions that we've had. And we're going to play a couple of those at the end of the show today. So that's what I've really been cracking on with.
I mean,
what about you, mate?
Similar, mate, to be honest. I've had a really busy couple of weeks, and it's been really nice to, as Andy said, we changed it up a bit last week, and we asked you guys the questions, and the responses we've got are just fascinating from huge range of different responses, and we'll get onto that later in the episode. So stick around if you want to learn people's thoughts on if there is such a thing as a bad song, and also some production stuff as well. So definitely stick around for that. It's been fascinating to listen to. And I mean, just to be honest, I'm just about getting back in my rhythm musically. I've had a really busy couple of weeks. We're still looking for houses, my wife and I. We were this close to pulling the trigger on building a house. I mean, this close. And then we realized how much the monthly payments will be.
Oh, no.
And we were like, we could afford it, but we'd have to eat gravel or something.
Yeah. Just cans of beans for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and it was hard because it was such a beautiful house in like a great location. Had a basement that I could turn into a studio, everything ticked off. So now we've kind of calmed down a little bit and realized just don't rush into things, we're first time
buyers. It's annoying because you probably feel like you're back to square one again.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I still want a basement because I still really want to build out a studio for myself and get a drum kit down there, and be able to actually record real drums.
Make
for
a
people.
Noise, but not like annoy the wife.
Not the wife and the neighbours, drums are loud.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's about it really. I'm polishing it. I think I found a singer for the track I found last week. Which is exciting. This lovely guy out of Australia. Fantastic voice. I actually met him when I lived in Melbourne. And I'm excited to see where it goes. He's going to see if he can get some studio time up here soon. And hopefully we'll get some vocals on the track. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm excited for this week's episode. I think we've got some great songs and some really good discussion points at the end of the episode.
Totally. So let's just dive on in.
Let's do it.
And the first one we've got is from Roxx, and this song is Invincible, and I'll let her introduce it.
Hey guys, this is Roxx, and this is my song, Invincible. I wrote this song to give a poetic meaning to the darkest experiences of my life thus far. It was in those deepest, darkest, lowest moments that I realized just how invincible I am. I hope my song connects with you and inspires you to keep going if you're near the end of your rope, struggling with anxiety or depression or just going through a hard time right now. Times are really tough, but you are invincible.
Keeping up appearances was never much for me. You knew nothing about it, but you spoke of history. All the way down, it broke me all the way down. I can hear them talking now, all they're whispering. Nothing but the wolves and vultures circling. All the way down, it broke me all the way down. Now I see
Yeah, really solid song.
It really is, isn't it? Like from the minute I heard it, you listen to some songs and from a producer's point of view, you think, wow, everything's there. The songwriting's great. The mix is great. I just want to point out whoever mastered this song did exceptionally well. It's so well mastered. You've got all those frequencies just not fighting. It's mixed well as well, I must say. And I'd be intrigued to know if it was mixed and mastered by the same person. But, everything has its space and it breathes naturally, which is the sign of a really good producer. But more so the song, I just want to say, and thanks so much to Callie for that lovely introduction, very personal and inspirational. So thank you there. And as soon as the song hits, I know when Andy and I first listened to this, I was like, wow, this is a really good song. And I hope that this doesn't annoy anyone out there, but the verses have a very Taylor Swift kind of vibe, her new music anyway, which is not a bad thing. I mean,
that's totally true, yeah.
Only a
That's
compliment.
totally true.
So good. And, you know, one of the best songwriters in the world in Taylor Swift. And you do a great job. And I'm not comparing the two. It just has a very similar kind of, that the vocal melody is just top quality. And I think Callie does a great job singing and projecting her vocal onto it, because there is a lot of stuff going on there in the music, and to project the vocal in that kind of way, and the performance is great. The production on the vocal is equally as good, and you can hear all the ad-libs in the background, which is, again, like, screams to me that she's an incredible songwriter. And I always listen to the percussion in songs, and I love the reverb on the clicks, like the reverb tail is beautiful.
Nice tail.
And again, like, just awesome production. I mean, as Callie said in her intro, that she's very, very clear on what the song's about. And even if she didn't give that intro, you would know what the song was about. Like the chorus, I'm invincible, there's no stopping me now. You push me down and I get up again. Like a great hook. And it kind of, a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about in our question section how to make a good song title. There we go. I mean, our response to that question is like, use the hook.
Yeah.
And this song is titled Invincible. And the third line of the chorus is Invincible. And it comes up a couple of times.
Kind of sums up the message of the song as well in that one word, doesn't it?
It does. Clever songwriting and clever lyric writing as well. I just love this kind of music, and I love the vibe of it. I love that you can get lost in the music. Very ambient in places, but also it has almost a dark vibe, but it's not dark. And
yeah, totally.
I love tunes like that. In terms of something that I would add if I was, you know, with Callie in the songwriting session, first thing I would have done is picked up a guitar and chosen a Marshall or something that's got some distortion, maybe some heavy distortion, and in that chorus just dropped some heavy chords underneath it. Nothing fancy, just like a just like literally one hit on the one. Hits. And I just think that would have given it some more pop. And that's, again, what I would have added if I was there, subject to everyone's opinions, of course. But if I was there, that's what I would have added. I just think it might have made the chorus pop a little more and made an even clearer line between the chorus and the verse. But really loved the song. Really, really enjoyed it. And again, if you want to learn more about the artist, you know, we're going to have everything in the links below on our website. Listen to the full song. You know the drill. Andy.
You know the drill by now. No, I like the idea of having the kind of guitar, one hits, one strums, just beefing it up at the underneath that mixer. I quite like that. Yeah, I mean, this song was proper deep, man. It was, I could tell when she, you know, said our introduction that it was going to be a bit of an emotional one that was coming our way, and it certainly was. You know, she set the tone from what she was describing, and you know, when it came in, I was like, whew, I'm getting there straight away. I mean, the verse, vocal melody, I mean, I just love it. Honestly, I was like blown away by that verse hook, because it's rhythmically interesting, it's melodically interesting, and she's got that hook like, all the way down, you broke me all the way. And that's repeated twice. So already I'm like singing along. Love that. And oh my God, her rich timbre in that low. So she's like doing an octave down in that first verse, and the richness and the control that she has down there is amazing. And to compare it to Taylor Swift, because it is quite Taylor Swift-esque, and I think that's a massive compliment, given that she's one of the biggest songwriters in the world. You know, so you know, I'm sure Callie won't take that in a negative way at all. But yeah, the verse for me instantly hooked me in, and I really liked there was like metalwork percussion in the verse,
like stomp.
Yeah,
almost,
like stomp. Yeah,
I almost wrote that down as a note.
Yeah, it's really cool. So that was like, again, something different, something interesting. And I liked some of the kind of synths, like a kind of wind pipe type sound that was tickling the upper frequencies, you know. Really nice there. And great kick sample and bass levels in the chorus that really added that thick, kind of beefy sound when she kind of went all out. And yeah, lots of emotion in those vocals. So really, really good performance. And I liked the quite kind of in the distance counter melody elements in the backing vocals. So they weren't like just following her vocal melody, they were kind of decorating the background with, you know, a separate melody, if you like. And I love when that kind of happens. Just adds another area of interest and some other theme behind the main vocal that we can try and interpret ourselves.
Absolutely.
In terms of critique, for me, I wasn't a massive fan of the hats used in the chorus. I thought they were quite overwhelming and a bit kind of rhythmically, you know, they were powerful, but they were just a bit too much. It put me off balance a bit. So it was just a teensy bit too distracting. And, you know, I want to focus totally on Callie in that chorus because it's so powerful. And to that avail, like, I probably lost her vocals just a wee bit too much in the mix. You know, there's so much going on, and because it's so powerful, all the instrumental is really supercharged there. But I didn't want to lose that message of the Invincible at all, and it was just maybe a couple of dB, you know, too quiet for me. So a bit of EQ shaping, which we'll be discussing later on in the track, ironically, because that's one of the questions I asked last week, which, you know, this is such a difficult thing to get right, because when you produce a song and you want it to have that massive sound, you know, it's a really difficult balancing act to still hear the message and the emotion of the vocals in the song, but also to have the instruments punching as hard and as loud as they can to also stir those emotions. So, you know, that's been a difficult thing there. So, but yeah, loved it, Callie. Loved it.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed that one.
So thank you very much. And we'll go on now to, I think they're a band, aren't they, called Mountain Laurel?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so these guys are, I think, from the States, and this is their song called Weather. And it's a very different song, and I'm excited to play it up next.
What's up, Songwriters Lounge? This is Andrew from Mountain Laurel. Thank you so much for featuring our debut single, The Weather, on your podcast. Mountain Laurel started in some capacity about 9 years ago. Many of the band members went to college together, and we've been playing as a New York City cover band for that whole time, but decided to use our free time during the quarantine period here in New York and Connecticut, where we're from, to finally put some of our songs that have been in the pipeline for years to record them and put them out to the world. So we're thrilled with the way our debut came out, and thank you so much for featuring it. The song The Weather is about conversations that many of us have had many times that tend to be, you know, a lot of words and nothing said. So I hope you enjoy the song, and thanks again for featuring it on the pod.
25 to live in the Lincoln Tunnel, back and forth and back again. He had plans to fix the world for his new baby girl. When the hell did this all happen? So tell me about the weather. Or did you hear it was gonna rain? New day, no better. I guess we'll go ahead and do this again, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
We were bopping to that,
all day.
man. That got us going.
Oh, man. It reminds me, I listened to this a few times. I don't know if you guys played this game a few years ago. It's called Dave Mirror Freestyle BMX. And it was on like the PlayStation 1 or something. And the soundtrack sounded
Not
exactly...
a few years ago then.
It was a few years ago, yeah, like the early 2000s. And the soundtrack was... This song would have fit right in.
Yeah.
And, it, you know, I maybe played that game when I was 12. But as soon as the song hit, it took me back to playing that game, and I love
Takes you
songs that
back.
do that. It reminded
Yeah.
me of that soundtrack. It would have fit in perfectly, but I love this song. This is fun. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a very live feel. I imagine they sound exactly like that live,
Yeah.
which is great. And it's just kind
Hats
of
off.
the way that the song was recorded as well. Like, it's got that very live kind of feel.
Yeah, definitely.
And love it. The drums hit at the exact right time. You know, it starts with the acoustic, and his kind of rich voice comes in, and then the drums come in with just and just keep that kind of beat going. Loved it. I think that's mandolin in the background, and the verb on that is really nice tail. The electric guitar in the background adds an awful lot to the song.
Oh, it does.
And it's got a lovely tone as well, really nicely picked out. You know, I can imagine just sitting in a beer garden with a few pals, sun's out, you know, couple of beers, and just kind of having a chat, bobbing your head, maybe having a little dance. And, you know, this song's got a guitar solo. If you listen to the whole thing, go to our Spotify playlist, link in the description. You'll hear the whole thing, and it has a great guitar solo towards the end of the song, which I love. A sucker for a guitar solo. In terms of what I would add if I was in the session or the booth, now these guys are a band, so they've obviously got an understanding. So with my kind of not critique, but with my what I would add, I kind of went from a production point of view this time. And there's just a couple of frequencies in the acoustic guitar that I would have liked to have notched out with a really thin cue. Just a couple that were bugging me there. But again, nothing too serious. It's got that real live feel, so I'm sure that's why they've kept it. I would have turned the harmonies up ever so slightly. And I think what I would have added was a shaker. I think this tune was crying out for just a just in the background
that's nice.
there.
Yeah, that'd be nice. A wee egg shaker.
Yeah, that's it. Just in the chorus, throw it out left and right.
Yep.
There we go. That's what I would have done, and you know that takes 5 seconds to record a shaker. Loop it. There we go. So that's probably what I would have done. Maybe they did try it. So I don't know, but that's something that I would have done. Shakers can add so much, especially in the stereo field. Just gives it that kind of like rhythmic feel. And yeah, I mean, apart from that, it's great. I think, you know, they want it to fit. They said they're a New York cover band, so I think they kind of want to keep that live feel, and they've done it beautifully. So great song.
I mean, the fact that is their first debut single, is that what you said? That's amazing.
I think so, yeah.
Because that is
Love
some
it.
seriously good quality music that they've made there. And it's like, I love the simple feel of it.
Me too.
It was not pretending like it was anything other than just like a simple, authentic kind of folky, boppy sound. And straight away, there's something really likable about it, to the point, you know, that me and you were kind of, you know, bouncing our heads and smiling and really enjoying it, because that's the way it made us feel. And straight away, I think when you trigger emotions like that from the music, you've won me over. So great start. And
Definitely.
I love the way, I really like the authentic sound, you know, with the natural squeaks and slides of the acoustic guitar, because yeah, it's completely right. It really built that live feel to the track, and I really like that. You know, I'm a real sucker for capturing that you know, as close to reality as possible, but not making it too distracting. If you are getting those kind of frequencies that are just pushing out a wee bit too much. But some really great instrumentation at work here. You know, that they've captured it very well. They're clearly a tight-knit band. You can already get a vibe that they've been playing for a long time together. You know, it doesn't feel like a debut single where the band is kind of getting to know each other. You know, it kind of all just worked, which I quite liked. And I really liked the way the track for me started off with just the acoustic, and it grew into what it did, and the clarity. I think it was the room reverb or whatever they used on the side. So you're saying it's the mandolin and the guitar. Whatever they used there in terms of the room reverb did an amazing job at just giving them both so much presence and rich space in the mix. and it like made it really upfront, but still gave it depth. Like I'm not sure if it was like a certain type of reverb used, but certainly it was not like a hall reverb. It was a really nice kind of mid-range, I'd say close to mid-range reverb that they just used to really make that live feel happen. And it was well done, and the panning really worked, giving that mix really, that stereo width that we always try and achieve when we're mixing. And I loved the drums. The drums were really mixed well too. Really good level. They didn't kind of sit back too much and let everything else not have the rhythm, but they didn't come in and just take over either. I just really liked the level that they sat in. So yeah, I'm really liking this. I think critique for me, I guess the only thing, I'm looking hard here, but the chorus hook could have maybe had something else to it, just to add, that chorus hook, if you like. So I quite liked the idea. When I was listening to it, I got a sense of what would work as like some Q&A vocals, like with like, so you've got this guy's lead vocal, which was really solid and really clear, but like some maybe like question and answer style, like coming in the middle of his vocals in that chorus hook, just to emphasize the rhythm that they had, which was the bum 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 bum, just coming in, when he stops and pulls out after the weather, something that would come in there, from maybe his, I don't know if the other members of the band can sing, but it'd be really cool for them to come in there with some sort of backing vocal, just to add another level to the chorus. And really that's all I was kind of thinking, that I would attempt to make it better, really. So
yeah,
I really enjoyed that.
I heard a similar thing when I was listening to it. I was thinking, what could you add there to emphasize that rhythm?
Yeah.
It could be like, are you worried about the weather? Are you worried? Are you worried about the weather?
Exactly.
Yeah,
like,
it's something like...
Are you worried? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like experimenting with that kind of thing would be really cool. But likewise, if we were having a beer together and that, was played live in front of us, we'd enjoy that.
Oh, I'd be on the dance floor, mate, I tell you.
So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for sending that in, and very best of luck for the future, and keep on writing your own music, lads, because I'm not saying that being a cover band isn't good, right? But you've got some serious talent there if you're writing that kind of stuff. So
yeah, honestly,
stick with it.
Keep going, lads.
Keep going. Next one. On to the next track.
Hey, it's Molly Lovette, and this is my latest single, One Woman Show.
If you lose yourself for a little while, don't give up, it's not your style. Life and love can wait, all you need is a break. Take some time, enjoy your shine. Raise the curtain, dim the lights, no more crazy days and lonely nights. Brand new script to chase the dream. The time has come for a change of scene. I'm rocking on my own, ain't picking up my phone. Pretty good at putting on a one-woman show. So get your tickets now before they sell out. It's just me, myself, and I laying low, being a one-woman show.
One woman show.
Guitar solo again. The week of guitar
Guitar
solos.
solo.
This is my week.
They're all the rage on this podcast, Tom.
Yeah, another song that I really liked. I love the kind of instant country feel of the tune.
Yeah, instant country.
Sounds great. And I love the line that you heard there at the end of that clip. It's just me, myself, and I laying low, being a one-woman show. Really clever line. I think it's delivered really nicely. Really fast-paced. I really enjoyed it. Something that stood out for me. I love the electric guitar kind of slide riff, like the doom doom boom. I love that. I love that effect. I don't hear that very often, so it's really unique and very, very clever. Whoever recorded that, great. I really enjoyed it. The chorus melody is super catchy. Again, very easy to follow, very easy to listen to, easy to enjoy. Just one of those songs that you listen to and you just think, yeah, this is just a nice, really good song. Add straight to my playlist, you know. The drums were really nice, you know, just solid there in the background. They give you a feel whenever you kind of need something a little spicy. They give you a nice little feel.
Little spicy.
Yeah, I just really liked it. Just, you know, one of those country songs. I'm a massive country music fan. This song fits right in that kind of mold, and really enjoyed it from start to finish. And again, like, you can listen to the full song in our playlist. Yeah, the lyrics were great. The music was great. What would I add if I was in the session? The mix was a little thin for me in places, so I would have experimented with ways to thicken out, just beef out that mix a little bit. Again, maybe with a distorted guitar right in there, kind of sitting in that kind of low mid-range is where it just kind of needed a little bit of thickening up. But that's it, really. I love the song.
Yep.
From start to finish, really enjoyed it. It's got a guitar solo. What more could a fan of music want than a guitar solo? But yeah, I mean, that's all I've got to say, really. I just really enjoyed it. So thank you so much, Molly, for sending that in. Really liked it.
It's brilliant, Molly. I mean, straight away, I loved your verse hook. The vocal hook was class. I loved it. I'm loving the verses on this show so far, but yeah, this one was no exception. Loved the verse. Instantly, I was like, oh, yes, this has got something to it that is drawing me in. Straight away, obviously, very country style, very distinctly country style with the instruments used and her accent and everything. Love that. Yeah, I loved this particular bit at the end of the verse where she like slides her vocal. She kind of goes, nah. But if you listen carefully, I think it might be hard. It's like doing the backing vocals or the harmonies with her own voice, but she matched that vocal bend in a harmony bend really well, which is quite, I imagine, difficult. So instantly, when I heard that, it was subtle, but I was like, oh, that's like surely quite difficult to pull off. So hats off to you there. Solid. A well-pitched and, you know, delivered vocal. Diction was great. I could hear literally every word she was singing, which I can't always say for songs. So that is quite an important one for me. I said I would have liked to have had a bit more kind of the air, you know, harmonics and the frequencies boosted in our vocal, just on the production side. But they might be deliberately not wanting to achieve that kind of stadium country sound with the vocals, maybe when they're producing it. So I can get if that's been a choice, because, you know, if you want to stay kind of on one end of the country scale, I'm sure, like, you know, you try and avoid that really airy poppy sound. So that's just something that I picked up. I love the reverb in the vocal. So again, it added a lot of clarity and presence to the vocal in the mix. It was like really up front in the mix, but still sat nice in the depth of it all. So I don't know if it was a lovely plate reverb or something, but they work really well on vocals, and this was just a well kind of mixed vocal with a nice bit of depth. So yeah, I just thought that really sat well, and like you, I loved listening to those lead guitar licks and the, you know, hard pan side. It was brilliant. So
really nicely done, yeah.
Yeah, totally. So I'm like you, critique wise, it just lacked a bit of body for me in the low end. So the whole mix was really nice in terms of the instrumentation, the vocals, the decoration, the harmonies going on. It had it all. It just didn't have that low end thickness and oomph that I'm kind of wanting to hear from it. So a bit more bass, a bit more thickness, a bit more saturation, and yes, like bring up those electric distorted rhythm guitars, you know, because there wasn't much rhythm electric guitars in the mix there. I think they were in there. They were just maybe too hidden.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's just about bringing them right in and even, double taking them and putting them on either side of the stereo field just to bring that warmth into the mix. And I think that would have taken it to the final stage for me. But like everything, it's subjective. And it's a really good song. So I enjoyed this kind of country vibe. And yeah, it's been cool.
Another one I could sit quite happily with a beer with friends in a beer garden, and just
on
enjoy it. Yeah, on a haystack or
we've had
or
that
a pickup truck.
On a pickup truck with cold beer.
Loved it. Thanks so much.
I love
again,
country
Holly.
music, man. I love it.
Oh, me too, mate. Me too.
I'm just jealous it's American and we can't have it in the UK. Well, we do have it in the UK, but it's obviously just...
It's not
as good, is it? Come on. They do it so well in the States. So, I need to get over to Nashville one day myself.
Oh, you will love it,
get in a
mate.
bar and soak up some of that country vibe because I would love the live scene in Nashville. It'd be so
You
cool.
can't even relax there because everything's so good.
Yeah.
Like you go to a bar, you get a beer, and like you're chatting with your friends, and I found myself being like, listen to that harmony.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You find yourself like,
You'd be so
this song is
distracted.
good. Yeah, like it's like what's happened to Tom? Like, I'll just go to the bar and enjoy it on my own. You guys have a good time. I mean, Nashville is serious. Next
That's true.
level
I'll
stuff.
probably need to go out on my own because I think if I took Mary out with me, I would just end up not talking to her the whole night and she'd get so angry with me.
All right, I'll bring down Nikki.
They can go off.
They can have a good night together.
Go to
Dancing.
another bar. Yeah. Cool. Right. We're going to shoot on to our next section where last week we switched things up. We had a lot of fun. And after the nonsense that we spoke about our 2 truths and 1 lie, which was a lot of fun, to be honest, we asked you guys 2 questions. And we asked you 1 songwriting question and 1 production question. And the first one that we're going to tackle is the songwriting question. And it was Tom's question, wasn't it, Tom?
It was something that I got asked on a podcast I did a while back with my cousin. And he asked me, is there such a thing as a bad song? And it just intrigued me. So I wanted to see what everyone thought of it. So we've had some really good responses, actually.
We have.
I'm excited to listen to them again.
Yeah, so thank you so much. We cannot emphasize this enough. You guys are making this show, sending us in your DMs on Instagram. You're literally sending us in, okay, a 10, 20 second voice note, but it's appearing on this show. It's allowing other people to get, a different perspective. There's no right or wrong answers to this. This is just, I think, a brilliant part of the show that I'm excited to hear more about. And so we're going to play you a couple now we've got one from Andy, we've got one from Dave, we've got then another one from Sarah and one from Little Zane. So we've got loads coming your way here, loads of different perspectives, which is fantastic. And I'm not going to give away what my opinion is until we've heard from some of these guys. So I'm going to play up Andy's response first.
Is there such thing as a bad song? That question is important, right? Because it lets us know, right, that we can't write a bad song, so you might as well just write. I think a lot of people are afraid of writing a bad song, so they don't do it or they don't release it or whatever. But to think that we have the ability to judge what is good and bad, it's just a cocky position. Like, tone it down. Stop thinking that you write bad songs. Who are you to judge that? Just write. Just write. Just keep writing over and over and over and never, ever stop, ever.
Just keep writing, Tom. Never, ever stop.
Andy's spot on, isn't he? Everything he said is spot on. Just keep going. Like, of course you're going to write stuff that you don't think personally makes the cut. But again, like everything in this industry, it's it's all opinion. It's subjective, right? So keep writing, because as you write, you'll slot into that field that you want to be in. And again, even if you think something's a bad song, it doesn't mean that I'm going to find it a bad song or Andy's going to find it a bad song. So, I think Andy, we've got two Andys. This is confusing, isn't it? I think Andy is spot on here, what he said. Just keep going. Like, don't put yourself in that situation. And I think, he was absolutely spot on with what he said.
Interesting. So I'm not in a total agreement, but I'm gonna let a couple more people pitch in, and then I'll give you kind of who I agree with in the end, because there's some interesting stuff coming up now, and this one's now from Dave.
So my response to question 2, is there such thing as a bad song? I would have to say no, I don't quite believe that. The reason being is because I do kind of subscribe to the notion that there is no bad art. And, I think it's more of a case that I might think something is bad, it doesn't work for my taste. The next person might think that it's absolute genius and it's the best thing they've ever heard and it really does it for them. And, there can be millions and millions and millions. The vast majority of the world might think a particular song isn't very good, but the creator of that might have, had some sort of real deep, meaningful connection to it. Other people may have felt that connection as well. Just because the vast majority of people don't get it doesn't mean that it's not good. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Also, to kind of top that off, I think even if there is a song that you think is bad, you can probably still take away elements of the song that you like. Maybe it's just a line, or maybe it's a part of the arrangement, or the sonic quality of the production. Whatever it is, there's usually something you can take from it, which you like about it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what Dave said.
Yeah, another good set of points.
Let's listen to the other two before we really dive into this one.
Yeah, let's do it. So this next one's from Sarah.
Oh boy. To the question, is there a such thing as a bad song? Yes, there totally is. Oh my gosh. And I'm not in the business of calling anyone out particularly, but I just think that I've heard plenty of songs, you have too, you have, where it just doesn't seem like there was really a lot of thought put into the way it's all mashing up. And there's a lot of elements that go into the song, like the performance of the vocalist and the instrumentalists, and there can be in those directions also bad songs. So I hope that doesn't make me sound like too much of a dick, but I just feel like there's great songs, there's mediocre songs, and then there's just bad songs. Also, I will add to that, I have written bad songs and I have made bad songs. So I should throw myself under the bus as well.
Haven't we all, mate? Haven't we all? But yeah.
Oh, that was brilliant. So much personality came across there. It was brilliant, Sarah.
She's awesome, Sarah. Cool. I mean, yeah, well, we'll get onto it in a minute, but I think we've got one more.
One more.
I don't believe there's such a thing as a bad song. It all depends on the mood and the theme of the song that you write and what you want to achieve with it.
Yeah. So I think overall, like, what's interesting is I think there's been 3 out of the 4 that have said no, there's no such thing as a bad song. Sarah's came in with like, oh my God, yes. And I think like that's where my gut reaction was when you asked the question last week, was instantly my mind was like, yes, of course there is such a thing as a bad song. I completely get Dave's point though, which is like some people's bad is another people's like genius. And I do feel like I have written a load of garbage at times in my music.
We all have, mate. We've been there.
I have, haven't I? Like almost everything I've put out.
Yeah, your last song wasn't that great. Now we no, I'm kidding.
Oh, it's all coming out the woodwork now, guys. This is heating up. No, but it's an interesting question because it is such a personal, subjective point, a song. So I'm just going with my gut reaction, and I think my kind of take on it would be, the last point that was made, it's all about the execution and it depends on the target, mood, and, the outcome that you're trying to drive with the song. My argument would be a bad song is one that has none of that. So it doesn't have a target. It creates no mood. It's completely flat. It may be, you might have a song that uses the same chord the full way through. Now, that's not to say that songs that have just one chord the whole way through, are bad. It just, what I mean by that is, if you've got something that's musically, emotionally, and tonally flat, is that a bad song to me? I'd say yes. But that's because that's the way I feel. That's not necessarily, to Dave's point, right, because someone else might see that or listen to that and go, oh, that works for me. So it's such an interesting debate, and I don't know if you can say that there's a right or wrong answer, because it's just like the question itself is a personal feeling. So
Exactly. I think, most people listen to music on their phones with headphones on. People enjoy live music as well. So I'm coming at this more of I'm trying to think of everything. Is there such thing as a bad song? Initially, I think there is, but I think it's artists tend to rush things, and they just want to put the first thing that they come across that they're kind of proud of out, whereas they don't put enough thought into it, and maybe the song that they put out has aspects of something really good, but they haven't finished it yet. And I'm going to use Bohemian Rhapsody as an example, because it kind of separates. Freddie Mercury was a genius. I'm not comparing anyone with Freddie Mercury, but he had Bohemian Rhapsody in like 5 or 6 little bits. Didn't throw it all together. He waited for the prime moment to finish the song with the band, and it was thought through. How many layers and layers and layers of things did they put in it to make it good? They didn't rush it. And I think a lot of music is rushed. I think a lot of people just want to get the first thing, they write out there. I think there's no thought to the production. Very oftentimes I'll speak to people and they just use the first producer they find. You should never settle on a producer. Always find the one that works for you and makes the production value of their songs exactly what you want. Yeah. And you listen to it time and time again, and how many songs are being released every single day? Thousands and thousands of songs a day. Right now, you can't risk having sloppy production. And I know that's a really long-winded way of saying it, but I don't necessarily think there's such thing as a bad song. So I do agree with Dave and Andy when they say that it's all subjective and it's art and just keep writing. But I completely see where Sarah's coming from, because you do hear music and think, well, I don't like this. This doesn't really go anywhere. And then I agree completely with what you said, Andy. What you said,
yeah,
music isn't good when it's flat and is nothing. So I don't know where I lay on this one.
I know, it's so tough. Like, see, when you asked this question, the first thing I thought was like Phoebe from Friends.
Smelly Cat.
Smelly Cat is a belter, right? So we won't discuss that. But some of the other ones that she would write, and everyone's just kind of nodding,
Yeah.
thinking, and I think Ross had a go on the keyboard, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Helicopter sounds and everything, right? Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, that's crap.
Exactly. I just think there's not enough.
He was in his element.
Exactly. It's art at the end of the day, and it's subjective. Yeah. So I don't think there's a yes or no answer to this one.
No.
As boring as that sounds, guys.
But there is good debate which is happening on the show. So thanks, guys, for giving us your opinions. Conflicting, contrasting as they may be, it's brilliant to hear your thoughts, and we can relate to a lot of all sides of it that's spoken. So we're now going to move on to...
Well, before we move on, Andy, I want to say I'm interested in hearing so many different opinions for this question.
Yes.
So please, if you're listening to this, please let us know what you think. Is there such a thing as a bad song? Yeah. Reach out to us on social media, email us, submissions@songwriterslounge.net, or add one of us on social media. Would genuinely love to hear your thoughts on this one. So leave comments and let us know. And now we'll move on to the next question.
Absolutely. As you can tell, we love chatting about this stuff, hence why we created this podcast. So
exactly,
we will actively participate in any of your thoughts. Yeah, totally. Next question is the production question that I asked last week, which is something that I'm always conscious about when I'm mixing. And I asked you guys, excluding the basics like panning and level, what were some of your kind of key breakthroughs using EQ that you discovered during the production process that really allowed you to achieve clear separation between your instruments and avoid that dreaded overlap of frequencies, which we've already discussed during this show. You know, it's so fundamental to the mixing process that you have that clarity and that all the instruments belong in the same space, but they don't fight each other so much that your ears can't make sense of the separation of those instruments. So here's some of the answers that we got.
Hey guys, Lovette here. One thing to keep in mind while you're finding clarity through EQ is to cut narrow and boost wide. This will help you retain the uniqueness and the integrity of the sound that you're EQing while getting that clarity. Cheers.
Simple, quick fire in there, Lavalette. Really nice. We'll play the next one. This is from Dave.
Hey guys, it's Dave here. So my response to question 1, a breakthrough while using EQ for me, something that really helped me achieve separation, was using dynamic EQs with the external sidechain engaged. So for example, if I had a vocal and a guitar, and the guitar was getting in the way of the vocal a bit, I'd use something like a Waves F6 and put that on the guitar, engage the external sidechain function to receive the signal from the vocal. As and when both of those instruments are playing at the same time, the signal from the vocal would trigger the dynamic EQ, and I would just set it so it's cutting out only the stuff from the guitar that's getting in the way from the vocal. So the benefit of that for me was not having to go in and do lots of automation and not using a compressor with the sidechain function to get rid of all of the guitar. I don't want, the whole volume being dug down overall. So yeah, just getting out all the stuff which is causing any clutter, that was really helpful for me.
Top man,
fundamental, isn't it? Fundamental. That's one of my breakthroughs as well.
Me too.
And yeah, final one now is from Matt Marcy.
Hey, this is Matt Marcy with a quick EQ tip. So the common misconception is thinking that you need to hear the full range of every single instrument. You don't. If your kick's fundamental is between 40 and 60 Hz, for example, give it the space to breathe. Having the sub from an acoustic piano and a high live bass all vying for the same area will not give huge bass by having all of them playing together. High pass and EQ out anything that masks the kick. Then the kick will be easy to hear because that's the only thing in that range.
Yeah.
Spot on.
It's a good shout. Good shout as well.
All three of these were spot on. And I mean, when I thought about this, I was like, okay, the first thing I wrote down was, for me, sidechain or dynamic EQ is something that really changed my game, I'd say. As to before, where I was like automating every little spike detail, and Andy and I have spoken about it on the show, possibly every episode, what we would do in our kind of feedback section, what we would do. And when we say I'd put a dynamic EQ and just duck out this, usually we're talking about this sidechain, as Dave said. And it just changed my whole game, I feel, when I learned how to do this. And it took me a while to kind of understand what it is perfectly. But, I used the F6 for probably about a year until I finally fought over the big dog and bought in the FabFilter Pro Q3, which is just no turning back from there. But yeah, I completely agree with you, Dave. Spot on. Matt, again, every word you said, I think people really do tend to think that you need all of the instrument, where you don't. If the frequencies of you don't want the extreme low end in an acoustic guitar, you don't need it. It's going to be fighting the kick and the bass. Same with the piano. But it's all just it's a very cliche answer, but you got to use your ears. And as Lavalette said, where he said cut narrow, boost wide, it's just, for me, it's a case of using my ears. I fight myself when I'm recording to not produce as I go. maybe just little bits here and there to help with the creative process, but the actual mix doesn't. I don't mix and record at the same time because I just get carried away. So I have when I have everything recorded, I have a very clear picture in my mind what I'm going to do with things, and can do it relatively quickly because I've got the clear picture. And all three of these answers are go-tos for me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
over everything, I use my ears, and understanding what Matt said is pivotal. You don't need. First thing I do with most things, low cut, high pass, most things. Every time, if I don't even have to listen to it, I know high pass at 100 hertz. You don't need that sub low end.
Yeah, you don't need that stuff.
Yeah,
Majority.
again, I love these answers, and if you have any, please let us know.
It's funny, so when I started to do the whole, like what Matt Marcy said, like creating that space for the different instruments to not fight each other over. Like one of the kind of tutorials and kind of online courses that I did would say like something must win the battle of that space. So you've got to pick like one thing in that occupying area, especially at the low end, which is usually really tough to get that balance between the kick and the bass.
The muddy
and
end,
what I did for a long time, and it was when I was starting to mix, and I made the vital error, which was to kind of high pass everything but like way too much. So I would like take away like completely the low end of like the piano, because I thought, oh, but the bass needs to occupy that whole region. But what I ended up doing was fundamentally removing a lot of the body and what like made the piano sound like the piano, and likewise the acoustic. And that's kind of the similar point that Lavallette's made with the cut narrow and boost wide, because you don't want to like reduce the integrity of the original sound so that it doesn't sound like that instrument anymore. And I made that mistake so much during my like really early mixing learning curve, you know, and I think now like I definitely do what Matt's doing. Like I'll decide based on the song, right, is the bass gonna win or is the kick gonna win? Because they cannot both win here. So if this is like an EDM track, I need that kick to be basically doing the whole breathing in the sub-region. So I'll effectively take the filter on the bass right up to, 100 hertz and leave that space dedicated for the kick, just so that kick is really thick and punchy and present, in that low end. But I don't take away the bass, all the way up to a certain point that you lose what the bass is fundamentally there to do. So yeah, it's a really difficult balancing act. And like you, I used the F6 for a long time, then upgraded to the Pro Q3. Will never look back. And one thing that I do, and I don't know if you do it, Tom, but I always, to create that vocal space, I'll dynamic EQ the fundamental vocal frequency, like timbre region in my mix bus. So I'll send all my instruments to a separate instrument bus channel, and I'll dynamic EQ that sidechain to my vocal mix bus. So I'll send all my vocals to another bus. And these are my two final buses before I go to my master bus. And this is where I do the majority of creating that vocal space and that treatment, because I've created all that, I've mixed all the instruments and I've created that really thick instrumental mix. But now I need to make sure that fundamentally the vocals aren't getting lost in the track. And
I do the exact same thing.
Well, that's good to hear, because, it'll be interesting as well if anyone else has any other kind of techniques or tips that they use. And that might be a standard way that producers do it. I don't know. It's just certainly something that I've picked up over the years. So that's kind of where I was coming from. I was wondering as well if we'd get some listeners who do some stuff with mid and side EQ. I'm still experimenting with my own skills, that kind of region, because a lot of my EQing is just stereo EQing. I don't tend to do much in the form of, mid and side and right side only, left side only. I know producers can do that, do that, but I've never really used that properly, I imagine, to the full advantage. So if anyone out there has that kind of thing, then get in touch with us, because I'm certainly interested to learn more about that kind of thing as well.
Me too. I mean, again, thanks so much for your responses, because
yeah, totally.
Really enjoyed listening to them.
Totally. So, 2 more questions for next week then, Tom.
Cool.
So
you want to ask him away?
Yeah, I'm gonna take off the first one, and I'm gonna do the songwriting question this week. And my question to you guys would be, what do you do when you start a track completely fresh? So what are the first things that you guys do to get your music flowing? And that's what I want to know from a songwriting perspective.
I can't wait for those answers, to be honest. So my question is, how do you tame, this is a production question, of course, how do you tame effects? And what I mean by that is, how do you tame the reverb, the delay, all those effects? How do you tame them so they don't ruin
overpower
the track? Yeah, overpower a track. How do you tame them?
Cool. Nice. So we'll put out our posts again, guys. We want, you guys, like-minded songwriters and producers, just to do the exact same. DM us on Instagram at Songwriters Lounge with the wee underscore at the end. Or you can send your full recorded voice note if you're an audio nerd like us and you want to record it on a mic or anything like that. If you don't want to do it on your phone, then you can send it to us to the email address submissions@songwriterslounge.net. And we will then do the exact same. We'll play you on the show, we'll discuss your answers, and it will be brilliant for you to share your knowledge as the songwriter and producer that you are on this show. And, we'll keep the different topics and areas coming. So thank you so much, guys. And we will check you out on episode 11 next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week.
Have a great week, guys. Cheers.